Today I'm responding to Diamond, who wrote asking what to do if you're being bullied at school. Well, that's a big subject, so it's going to take a little while to answer. First, the way I'm going to define bullying is as a pattern or process of intimidation by one person or group of people who have more power in some kind of situation. So, why do bullies bully? One reason is because they just love power. They're all about, we are popular and you are not, and that's the way we're going to keep it, and we're going to remind you of that as often as we can. What to do in that kind of situation is form your own power base. For example, I knew this girl years ago, and she'd actually been part of a popular group and then booted out. And she just slowly built these other friendships over time, just like totally cut off her attachment to these other people. And by the time she graduated, her group was more popular even than that other group. So that strategy can work really great. And then also you really want to develop your own sense of personal power, these inner kind of qualities, and I'll talk more about that later. Another reason people can bully is because of lack of empathy. And empathy is that capacity to put yourself in another person's shoes and understand how they feel. Some people have empathy in some situations and not others. Some people will later in life, but they don't have maturity for it now. And then some just didn't have it since maybe they were little teeny tiny and they're just never going to have it again. Those folks can be scary. A thing with lack of empathy is, again, have your own power base, but another thing is that these are situations often where the legal world gets involved, because a lot of these people are the types who would hurt you. They would assault you, and that's against the law. Frankly, I love laws like that. That's what makes us a civilized country and not just like old cowboy root and toot and shoot 'em days. Or, caveman days when we're bashing each other around with clubs on the head. So, that said, I wouldn't expect anybody to just lay there while they're getting beat up and do nothing, but don't be somebody who is manipulating that kind of situation where you're saying, bring it, come on, throw the first punch so that I can fight you, because that's really what I'm all about. I don't respect that at all, and I don't think that helps. Okay, another reason people can bully is because they're having fun. There's something funny they think is going on. So for example, this could be a scenario where you and a group of your friends are standing in the hall and somebody says, oh, did you see Sarah Biffett in volleyball? That was so funny. And everybody laughs, but meanwhile, Sarah just happened to be walking by. She hears you, runs off in the bathroom crying. And then, you're all standing there like, whoops, and you're bad. So in that kind of situation, what I would do is encourage Sarah to get online and check out this guy, Izzy Coleman. He's got a website, Bullies to Buddies, and it's really terrific, showing different ways that you can respond when people are having fun at your expense. And they're attacking you. It can work great for all sorts of kinds of bullying. So it shows you how to come back in ways that don't make it worse, but can create friends. So I would tell her to check that out. Another reason people can bully is because they're actually reacting to something else. For example, when I was in the 8th grade, I moved to this town. And in the town there was like the super uber rich people, and they have their houses off the street. They have so many bedrooms you can't even count them, and they've got maids coming and going. And then there's like these poor neighborhoods where there's a lot of blacks who live. So I moved there with my mom. We're in an apartment, and I go to the school, and this group of black girls, they want to beat on me. So in that case, understanding helps. It didn't solve it for me, but it really helps me get what's going on. They didn't want to beat on Nicole. They didn't even know Nicole. It's just I was one of those white people who was a target. I didn't have any other people around me to back me up. And that's what they saw. Kind of like if you as an American went into Iraq right now or walking around by yourself, it probably would not be a safe idea. Even though you didn't bomb the Middle East, they just see you as an American. Another way that people react is to things that you're actually putting out there. So something that I see time and time and time again is people talking on the internet, and actually saying some really offensive or hostile things on the internet. And they could just think they're being general, like, I hate people who blah, 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 blah. And then surprisingly, 12 of their friends respond like, well, yeah, blah, 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 to you. And then 300 comments later, the person who started it, you, is feeling totally victimized by this, gang assault that came back at you. So the only one who can do anything to change those kind of things is you. Be super careful what you put out, and particularly what you post online. Okay, now I'm going to talk about some changes that you can make that will make you less of a target to bullies. First has to do with your expectations. So if your expectation going to school is that I go to school and that's where people are going to be my friends and the teachers are going to help me and make sure that I learn well and get a good education, that's your thought, and you walk into a building where there's kids being slammed up against lockers, people are cussing each other out, it's a hate zone, and your teacher is just sitting there collecting her check, waiting for her retirement, and doesn't care about you at all, you're going to be incapable of functioning. You're going to be overwhelmed, terribly disappointed, and you're just going to feel completely victimized in that situation. So what you want to do is not be attached to what you think school should be attached to the reality of what you see, and then plan accordingly. So if you go to school in a war zone with uncaring teachers, you want to suit up and show up for that. Put a suit of armor over your heart, walk through the door, know your comebacks and responses that are going to de-escalate versus escalate conflicts. Go into your classroom and fight for your education. Ask that teacher questions time and time again. No, Mrs. So-and-so, I still don't understand what you said, and it is really important to me to try to get this. Sometimes that's what you have to do. That's what's going to prepare you. That said, though, I'm not saying you can't be an agent of change and try to make it different in your school, but know that you're being a leader, and leaders often aren't liked, and that's a slow process. It takes time, but it can be a valiant effort. Okay, next point I want to bring up has to do with knowing the difference between descriptions, criticisms, and attacks. So let's say, for example, somebody says, oh, yeah, that old lady with the wrinkly skin, the chicken neck, and the short haircut, like a man, she looks like a man. They could be talking about me. I might not like it, but that's me. Where criticism could be something like, oh, Nicole, what's that junk on your face? Is that makeup? Are you seriously trying to do makeup? And I'm like, yeah, I know, I kind of stink at it. Can you help? Or would you be willing to touch this old lady's face and do it yourself? If I'm super sensitive about makeup, though, not makeup criticism, I'm not going to be able to hear anything. I'm just going to react. I'm never going to learn. Criticism is crucial for learning. And then attacks. Attacks would be like, oh, we want to take Nicole out, get her out of our town because she's got a wrinkly neck and she can't do makeup. In that case, I'm going to want to use my power base, and I'm going to want to use laws if I'm being physically threatened. Back to the thing with descriptions, though, and criticism and all that. Know your worth as a human being. Know what your assets really are, what you believe in, how you make meaning out of life. This kind of stuff is super duper important because that's your strength when people are attacking you or criticizing you. People tell me I'm not that pretty. Well, I know that, but I also know that I'm smart, I'm funny, I'm creative, I'm caring, I'm a lot of other things that are really valuable to me. I don't have to have the pretty card too. I got it going on in all these other ways. Yeah, don't need that card. And you've got it going on too. You just have to discover what your cards are. If it's not one that's obvious at your school, like pretty athletic, like big tickets at schools all over the place. So what? A lot of other things are big tickets too. You just got to know them. Okay, so now, next point I want to make has to do with defensiveness. And defensiveness is a way of interacting in which somebody says something and that hurts your feelings, and then you go one up, and then they go one up, because it tends to be a pattern, and off you go. So like an example could be like somebody says, Nicole, you ugly. And I say, I'm ugly. What is that pus dripping potato thing on your face? Is that a nose? And they say, oh, hit the Botox, old lady. You're the reason they invented plastic surgery. And I said, really? Come on now, let's go. And they said, all right, outside. Not that I'm into doing that or would at this point in my life. It's a little too fragile. But you see how it goes. So with defensiveness, what you have to know how to do is to calm down. Usually you get triggered into defensiveness is you get this like, whoa, rush. Somebody says, Nicole, you ugly, and I go, whoa. I just want to come back at them. But what I need to do instead is take that as information that I'm just heated, I'm upset, not going to make good decisions right now. So best strategy for me is to walk off, cool down, come back later. We can always do that. But another thing that you can do, which I really advise, is to have some practice responses for when you're taken off guard. So it could be something just like they say, Nicole, you ugly, and I say, ouch. Or Nicole, you ugly, and go, huh. And then walk off. Something really short, simple, doesn't give away too much, but gives you time to go off, regroup, and then know how you want to approach them the next time you see them. And strategize, be wise like an owl, wily like a fox. Remember, this is a place where you show up with your armor even though you forgot it there for a second. You can always regroup and get it again. So, to wrap it up, what I want to say about bullying is I do get it's a big deal, and I think it's really disappointing, ultimately. It's just disappointing to know how unfair things can be. And you go to the school, you hope these people will be your friends, and they're not interested. And in fact, they want to treat you terribly. It's so disappointing. But there's a lot in life that's really disappointing, and this is your practice dealing with it. I mean, I watched the news, little girl laying there on a rag in front of a wall, dying of Ebola by herself because nobody will touch her. Ouch, talk about unfair, how excruciating that would be. And life has those dark sides to it, those parts that are just absolutely awful. And this is your chance to develop some character and find your way through something really hard. It's a chance to look for deeper sources of meaning in life than things that you can just see, touch, and feel. And I encourage everybody to do that. And then last thing I wanted to say on that too is I do encourage everybody who's got the strength to be an agent for change. Try to create a climate in your school that's more inclusive than exclusive. Values diversity, different ways of being counted than just like athleticism or attractiveness. Start like clubs for Christians, gays, music nerds, whatever, really include a whole bunch of people and give them an opportunity to shine and win and help your school to do that. But know that that takes time, it takes a lot of strength, and it takes a lot of personal power on your part. Anyway, bottom line is know your value as a human being and don't let anybody take that away from you, because you can. I hope I've been of help.